We're here live at the Channel Partners Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome back to the Managed Service Provider Association of America podcast. I got Jeff and Ross here, and they got some big news for you. Jeff, introduce yourself. Tell us what's going on.
Thanks, Mike. This is Jeff Potter, Director of Sales for Telnet Worldwide and IP Phone Company.
And I'm Ross DiBernardis from IP Phone, Vice President of Strategic Growth and Alliances.
All right, what's the big news, gentlemen?
You want to kick it off with the big
Yeah,
news,
sure.
Ross?
Just recently, we just made an acquisition, most recently, of Telnet Worldwide. And the unique thing about it is the fact that we have so much synergies that both organizations are extremely excited about what's taking place, not only here, but also too in the coming months. So Jeff, tell us a little bit about some of the things that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, we're here at, we came together here at the Managed Service Provider Summit, which we're excited to be here. That's been going on the last couple of days. We were able to get in front of our MSP partners. We're really focused, a channel first organization, both of us, and MSPs are an important part of that, and we seek to develop partnerships with the MSPs, primarily because we have a driving commitment to customer success in the cloud collaboration tools such as WebEx and Microsoft Teams, and the MSPs are fantastic at that. That's their mantra. They take care of customers' infrastructure day in and day out. And so we seek to enhance those partnerships by helping them with that voice channel and management, design, implement, and manage.
And give us the backdrop of Telnet. You're talking to a strong community of managed service providers with the MSPAA. What do they need to know about Telnet as the backstory, and what's the value added to them with the merger?
Okay. Yeah, so the value add is, we're partnering with the leading platforms that you can have available to you in the world, frankly, with Cisco and Microsoft. We bring to the table a commitment to the partner, the MSP, and their customer, and we'll go as far as putting a playbook together of onboarding services so that each partner brings these services to their customers in different ways. And we're going to put a playbook together, put our teams on the implementation side so that it's a successful rollout of the services that we're providing to them.
Yeah, and one of the unique things and what brought us together, quite frankly, is both of our organizations, both of the owners and presidents of both organizations have known each other for quite some time. So there was an awful lot of synergies, I believe, that have been built over a course of time. And my thinking and a lot of the things that we have put forth in this acquisition has revolved more around the ability to have so much synergy in the form of not only products, but also to the services. And I think that's really the key that drove the acquisition, number one, and two, which is going to benefit not only the two organizations, but more importantly, the individual MSPs, partners, as well as most importantly, really the end customers. So when you look at the acquisition, it's much more than just an acquisition of two firms. It's really an acquisition of the services that are going to be delivered, because our service delivery models very, very similar. Project management, on-hand training, on-site installation, etc. So those are all things that we bring to the table that are very, very unique to the industry, and I think it's going to really benefit, both of our organizations going forward.
During our prep, you were telling me a little bit of the history of voice services and how managed service providers are getting more engaged with this channel sales model. We're at a voice conference. This is all about voice services, and that's your bread and butter.
That's correct.
So, tell us a story about what a managed service provider needs to know on the trends. If they're serving small businesses that are still making telephone calls over copper, you're talking about Teams phone. Tell us the new trends that the MSPs should have on their radar.
Yeah, so where the MSPs are getting involved now is, voice has transitioned over the last 20 years, and it's moving into the network. You are no longer, plugging a line in a phone closet in their building. These devices, they're all on the internet, IP related, and the MSPs are having to deal with them as another, service that their customers expect and need to have to work together. And collaboration tools are huge. That's now running on their laptops. It's running on their cell phone so they can get their business numbers from anywhere.
Right.
So
which also gives great flexibility with the work from home trend. In the last 5 years, now you don't need to be at the desk to pick up the same phone that you have at your desk.
And that's a business identity. Telephone numbers are their identity. People remember those numbers. They call them. They want to speak to people, and it's part of their identity. No matter where you are, you're using that same identity to call a customer, not confusing them with cell numbers and things of that nature. And so we looked at and have talked to a lot of MSPs. We've had the privilege to sit down with many of them. Some of them have tried to get into the services of the voice and deliver it, and they find out that it's challenging to support voice. It's not, you've got to have specific skill sets, and that's where our team steps in. And we've been doing voice for 25 years. We know how to troubleshoot it. Yeah, it's being delivered on a different mechanism now, but our teams are really strong, and that's the value that we bring to the MSP. We take that off their shoulders, but at the same time delivering the service levels that their customers expect from them.
And I think one of the other unique things too is we want to always stay in our own swim lanes, especially whenever we're dealing with MSPs. They have their piece of the business, which is very, very important to the end customer, and we don't want to step on anybody's toes. So we keep things very, very compartmentalized as far as the voice element, whether it's Cisco WebEx or whether it's Microsoft Teams, where we're delivering the SIP trunking and the direct routing to those particular customers. That allows them to really take advantage, quite frankly, of the infrastructure that they already currently have. So they're not having to necessarily go out and work with multiple different types of vendors to be able to leverage that infrastructure that they have. Additionally, I think is a really key element is the platform that we use is one of the largest platforms globally, and it represents roughly about 70% of the total global market share. The other very unique thing that I think is very, very important is the platform also leverages both, whether it's Cisco or whether it's Microsoft Teams. We have the ability to be able to use that same platform just by changing license types, and I think that's a really key element from a standpoint of being able to migrate from one to another, whether there's a management change in the organization or whether there's a product change that a customer might want to make. So those are key elements that I think that we bring to the table that a lot of vendors just don't, based on not only their platform, but more importantly, as Jeff mentioned, they've been doing it for 25 years, we've been doing it for 27 years. So we bring a tremendous amount of infrastructure, not only in the skill sets, but also too with the people that we have on staff.
Okay, fun question. You're both long in the tooth in the business. Okay, 20,
Yes.
25, 27 years, long time. We're talking Y2K era.
Yeah.
Okay? What has changed in the last 25 years in voice services? What stayed the same?
Well, the identity of the telephone number has stayed the same for the business. They had those numbers in 25 years.
I have my same cell
Yes.
phone number from the first cell phone that I had when I was a child.
Yes, and that is an identity, just like your
That's my
website and
identity,
your URL. It's the business identity, and today's platforms allow them to use that identity no matter where they are. It used to be your area code kind of defined where you live. That really isn't the same anymore. You can have an area code, and I'm 616 out of Michigan, and I can make it take business calls here as if I'm sitting in Michigan. So that's one of the big differences. Ross, you got some.
And I'm 904
Sure,
area.
some
I'm 904 area code, just so you know.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I think the other big thing is our industry changes really daily almost, and especially with some of the things that are coming out. An awful lot is being said and talked about as far as AI is concerned, and a lot of people don't really even know how to really deploy it, how to even talk to customers about AI. Where does it fit? Where does it benefit them? Those are things, quite frankly, that I think we can bring to the table, and we're already doing so, particularly in the vertical markets. So we've already initiated and came out with our own AI products that leverage really very specific verticals. We have multiple verticals across just about every industry. So far, we've released 3 of them. We can test them. We have telephone numbers where people can dial in, try them out. So there's a number of things that we're going to be able to bring to the table. But as far as what's changing, it's changing really every day, Mike.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay?
We got a fun question from the audience. How easy is it to expand these services across the client portfolio? This is a managed
question.
service provider asking
Great question.
for deployment.
Great question. One thing that's very, very unique as far as some of the services, an awful lot of the services that we deliver it crosses multiple types of systems. So regardless of whether you have your hosted system with us or whether you have it maybe with somebody else, a number of the applications, whether it's voice recording, whether it's contact center, regardless of what it is, whether it's AI to a specific vertical, we're able to really actually integrate it and have it part and parcel of their system without necessarily trashing what they have and having to upgrade and spend a lot of money and moving to a whole new platform just to get those applications. So it doesn't make any difference whether it's a premise-based system or whether it's a hosted system. We have the ability to be able to cross over without that big infrastructure change and, more importantly, the financial changes that you would have to incur, right, as far as moving over to a specific application maybe that you might need or require.
That's going to be huge because the financial friction is one thing, but it's, like Jeff says, the numbers are part of the business's identity. Yeah. So any interruption to that service is an emotional friction that the business won't even entertain.
Correct.
So it's got to be zipless in that case.
Exactly.
Like no matter, it's going to cost something, but to their end clients, the numbers got to stay the same. The service has to be seamless, no matter what transition happens in the back end.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And I would say to the MSPs that are out there, we respect your commitment as a trusted advisor to your customers and your commitment to the service. And we're standing there with you shoulder to shoulder to deliver that voice and collaboration channel to meet your customer goals. So when you grow and you succeed, we succeed. So that's kind of.
How do you see the trends with managed service providers? So we were talking in the hallway. Is this a classic service that the MSPs have been doing to provide voice, or is this a new thing that they're adding to their portfolio?
It is new. It's merged into their world because it's now on the desktop. It's on cell phones that they're managing.
I mean, you're talking Microsoft Teams. Microsoft is part of the managed service provider's brand identity.
Yes, it's a huge identity for them and a service that is valuable to their customers that they deliver. So that is moving from a box, a phone system that sat in the closet, right onto the desktop now, and it moves not only from the desktop but all over the world now. That number. So.
Right. So. Yeah, the other piece that's very, very key as we look at this, it's not so much that it's new for MSPs. They've been doing it for quite a while. It's just more that I think they're getting their feet wet as far as being able to do voice. And what they're finding is there's a lot of heavy lifting whenever you're doing voice. And it comes over the years, particularly with an awful lot of the older systems that were out there. There was connectivity issues with different other pieces that those premise-based systems may have been connected to, whether it was paging or whether it was door entry systems, etc. So those are the types of things that they're finding that are sometimes a little bit more difficult to deal with than just generally a desktop. But I think the key element here as we look at this is they are slightly different. So we work with the MSPs slightly differently. So depending on what pieces of what they need us to be able to accomplish, we'll customize really that partnership arrangement specifically for what they're looking to do.
Right.
How much of it do they want us to do? How much do they want to do? And I think the big piece of it is there's not an additional cost for us doing all the heavy lifting, which is a beautiful thing. The other piece of it is it's slightly different with MSPs than it is some of our other channel partners because they're more in sync with some of the older technology. So some of the things I mentioned earlier, such as your paging, your door access, things of that nature, they're more accustomed to that. So they tend to sometimes take on a little bit more responsibilities. So consequently, MSPs are unique in that sense, and we recognize that. And by recognizing that, we want to be able to make sure that we customize what we're doing for the MSP, that we're doing the exact same thing that they need and of course their customers want.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, well, it's great having you on the show. Ross from IP Phone and Jeff Potter, great to have you here at the Channel Partners Expo, brought to you by the Managed Service Provider Association. It's great to have you. Thanks for telling your story. Congrats on the big merger.
All right.
Right on, gentlemen.
Appreciate it. Thanks.